right, so we're experimenting with something new here, guys. So bear with us. But we really wanted to give you guys a chance to help to program the show. So we picked 3 topics that you can choose from. And Saagar, I'll let you set it up because I think there's a certain order or whatever.
So this is far more complicated than it should be. However, you have to text breaking points in all caps, 111, one word, to the number in front of you, 22333. After you do so and join our session, you can then choose A, B, and C. And I will be narrating the results as they come in.
Yes.
All right.
So first, step 1, get out your phone.
Yes.
Get out your phone. Step 2, go to the text thing. Okay. Step 3, this is how I would need it explained to me. That's why I'm doing it this way, okay? Step 3, put this number here, 22333, in the who it's going to line.
Okay.
Then what you're going to type in the text is what? Breaking points?
Breaking points, all caps, 111. No spaces.
No spaces.
All one word. All right,
Get
enough.
out your phone.
Enough. All right, breaking points, 111, all caps, to the number in front of you, and then A, B, or C. Okay, currently we have B is winning by 67%.
Some
now
people,
we're at 50-50.
Okay. Wait, and let me explain. So economy, we're going to talk a little bit about the latest numbers, IMF warning, Elon Musk. We're talking about Starlink, not Twitter. The Starlink thing is what we're thinking about with Musk.
We can talk about Twitter too if you want.
Yeah, we get whatever. Yeah. If you want us to talk about that, we can do that.
Elon
too.
is actually winning right now, 46%, 48%.
And number 3 is just the presidential primary 2024 horse race.
We can be
Biden
terribly wrong
going to be
again.
alive and sentient? Is Trump going to be in prison?
If you want to hear a crazy prediction, we can do C. If you want to talk about Elon, we could do B. A. All right, so A is currently 18%. B, 43. C is inching up, 39. It's 41. A is now inching up. I feel like an auctioneer. Okay, Elon is going up, 42%. 39% for C.
I'm just impressed,
19% for A.
that the tech is working.
C is edging out.
C is surging.
C is edging it out.
C is surging.
41-40. People, put your votes in.
Last
put your
chance,
votes
guys.
in. We got hundreds and hundreds of votes that are coming in. Okay. 41, 40, 40, 40. All right, we're going to go with C. C by a very short margin. 42%, 39%, and 19%. Thank you all so much.
Yes,
wow,
I
look
got to
at
be
that,
honest,
technology.
I didn't really feel like talking about Elon Musk, so. Again, so thank you. Okay, so here's the little news peg we'll use as an excuse to get into this 2024 situation. Then, Saagar, I'll kick it over to you. All right, there were a bunch of debates this week. I don't know if you guys watch any of them for the key Senate races. And one of them was Tim Ryan versus J.D. Vance. It's this week or last week, I don't remember. Anyway, in that debate, Tim Ryan was actually asked if he wanted Joe Biden to run for president, and he was very clear. He was like, no. I mean, I think for Tim, not to get too much into this, but for him, he sees Ohio, it's more of a red state at this point. He feels like there's political calculation made here to distance himself from Biden. His critique is just like, we need generational change, which I always think is sort of bullshit, even though I understand people's concerns with his age, but it contains no content. But anyway, the reason I think this is notable is because he's not the first one. There have been a bunch of Democrats who have, even though Biden's the incumbent and even though he's, supposedly their guy, who have blatantly said they don't want him to run again. And then you also have polls that routinely say, even if you just are asking Democrats, a overwhelming majority of Democrats say, we don't want him again. And what's interesting is, on the Republican side, there's some discontent with Trump, but overwhelmingly, he still has control of that party. So you have the media that is mostly talking about, is DeSantis going to catch up to Trump and what's going on there? And I'm looking around, I'm like, the one over here on the Democrat side is the one that's actually more vulnerable. So anyway, that's how I'll set up the 2024 debate. What do you think, Saagar, is going to happen?
I think the craziest thing is that despite all of that, when 70-some% of the Dems don't want you to run, who are they going to pick? You listen to the clips that we played. We're going to play fake Obama, Pete Buttigieg. We're going to pick Kamala.
Or fake Obama, Beto. Or fake Obama, Cory Booker. Or...
how many of these fake... Why do they all have to speak the same? Have you guys noticed that? It's completely crazy. It's just be a real person.
No,
And
they
yeah,
can't do that.
That's way too tall of an order. They're literally fake. And when you consider the bench, you're like, well, maybe he has trouble stringing a sentence together and so much more. But he at least, doesn't seem 100% as full of shit as the rest of these people. And that's all they can muster. And the craziest thing is, like, okay, on the Republican side, I'm sure, whatever you think of Ron DeSantis, all of that, all you have to do is go and look at a poll. It's like 51, 52% people who are for Trump. Every time he gets indicted or closer to indictment, his numbers literally go up in the Republican Party. And you're like, well, I think that we should probably just look at this. And yet, Paul Ryan, former Speaker of the House, great American, right? He did a lot of good for us. Okay.
That tax cut for rich people and corporations.
Well, fantastic.
That was
Thank you,
wonderful.
Paul.
Thank you, Paul Ryan.
So Paul was just asked this 2 days ago, and he said the 2024 Republican nominee will not be Donald Trump. It will either be Ron DeSantis, it will either be Tim Scott, or it will be Newt Gingrich.
What?
And I was like,
what? That's a curveball. I did not see that one coming.
if I see some shit like that, I'm like, all right, it's just gonna be Trump. Like, it's like after all of this, I lived through the same fucking story in 2016.
It's a lot of wish casting.
And look,
a lot
here's
of
the
wish
thing.
casting.
Look, again, whatever you think of Trump, and look, maybe he actually will get indicted, and that'll change all of this up. Right now, Joe Biden's approval rating in Georgia is 31%. No matter who wins down there. What's his approval rating in Pennsylvania? It's like 35%. Wisconsin, I heard it's an important state. Yeah, nearby. Guess what? It's like 38%.
Yeah,
He's under 40 or 50.
But this is the thing that's so crazy is like, we are very likely to end up with the Joe Biden-Donald Trump rematch. There are no guarantees, but it's very likely at this point. And both of them have approval ratings that look like this. Like, you ask the country and they're like, no, we don't want either of these people. And then it's like, well, here you go. Here they are again. Good luck. Enjoy your choices in our great democracy.
So sadly, I think that's what our failed system is going to produce. I think it's going to give us Joe Biden and Donald Trump again. And honestly, look, Joe Biden came, 41,000 votes away from even losing. And a lot of people don't actually even consider how small the margins in Georgia, in Arizona even were. Like, all it takes is a little roll of the dice and things go completely different.
If Trump had actually leaned into getting his people to mail-in vote, he probably would have won.
Oh, 100%.
Just that
no question.
Just that one change, it almost definitely would have changed the result in Georgia. I used to know the numbers off the top of our head. If you guys have been watching for a while, you probably heard us talk about this a lot. But there were a lot of Republican primary voters who voted in the primary by mail and then just didn't vote in the general election because there had been so much like, oh, mail-in ballots and you got to vote in person, whatever, and they just didn't show up. Just that margin alone would have changed the result in the state of Georgia. So it was that close. And I guess in terms of what I think, I suspect your prediction is the most likely outcome. And obviously this is a real fool's errand because this is an eternity in politics we're talking about. We're facing down some incredibly significant global situations, I'll just say, without bringing up the N-word again. That's definitely gonna get clipped out of context. Anyway, it was nice knowing you guys before I got canceled. Anyway, you're going to have all kinds of things happen, but I do think that's the most likely outcome. But if you were going to switch out one of these people, I think Joe Biden is more vulnerable. And especially, this is just according to the numbers. This is no political genius. This is just based on the numbers of his standing in the Democratic Party versus Trump standing in the Republican Party. Joe Biden has a much weaker position, even though he is the incumbent. Now, I don't think any established Democratic politician would have the balls to challenge him, but I think you could have an outsider challenge him, and I think they'd have a shot. Especially, Bernie has already said he's not gonna run if his friend Joe is running, which,
we'll see.
Marianne, I like that suggestion personally. Not crystal ball. Thank you, though. It's very flattering.
We have better things to do with you fine people.
But let me just say this, though. I think a lot depends on how the midterms do go. Because Biden's whole thing was the whole reason he romped ultimately in the Democratic primaries because people were persuaded this was the guy that could beat Trump. Well, if you have an economy that's shit, an approval rating that's in the tank, and you get shellacked in the midterms, how strong is your case going to be that you're the guy that could beat Trump again? That's where I think a real vulnerability comes in. And then the other thing that I think is a glaring vulnerability is what happens in Ukraine, because there is increasing public dismay and dissatisfaction, unease with the endless direction of the war there. So I think that's a wide open potential issue and problem for him as well. So if I had to bet on one side of the Trump-Biden equation changing, I think Biden is much more vulnerable.
No, I think look, he's 79 years old, and anything can happen. And the crazy thing is, Trump is like 77 years old. So it's the same thing.
Not a spring chicken.
And by the way, I've met the man. He's wide. He's a wide gentleman. That's the best way.
Those suits really do a lot for him.
They do a crazy amount for him. I remember seeing him in the Oval Office. I'm like, this guy's fucking huge. I'm like, does not come across.
Well, you see him like on the golf course and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, that's when you really see it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.